To discuss, let's bring in Shai Franklin, a Middle East analyst and former executive of the World Jewish Congress. Shai, great to have you here again on set. Both Senator Lindsey Graham and also Bob Corker, Republican senators, they came out from this briefing very decisive. They both have very high confidence that the Saudi Crown Prince is behind this murder. The White House doesn't have this kind of confidence, or maybe they do, but they don't want to act accordingly. Do you think it's a mistake?
Do I think which is a mistake? Not
to further sanction Saudi Arabia or act against the Crown Prince himself.
Look, the facts have been pretty obvious. I've been coming in several times now to discuss this over the weeks, almost months. And I think the conclusions have been the same all along. The CIA came out with a report several days ago which backed this up. And Secretary Pompeo himself was director of the CIA until a number of months ago. So the idea that he isn't behind this, that the Crown Prince is not behind this, is preposterous. The question is what to do about it. And I think that with so many thousands of people killed in Yemen and starving right now in Yemen, the idea that this one journalist who, it's a terrible situation what happened, but the idea that sanctions or any kind of American action against Saudi Arabia will only come because of what happened to this individual, it seems a little ridiculous. But now that it's out there in the open, a lot of these issues are being taken under consideration. At the same time that the senators are being briefed by Director Haspel, there's also a resolution being considered that would actually force the United States to stop, in the Senate, that would stop the United States from supporting the war in Yemen from the Saudi side.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with?
Was stopping the U.S. support for the war in Yemen.
Well, from the Saudi side, it's bad.
Right, but also, from the U.S. humanitarian side, given the Saudis have been engaged in indiscriminate killing of civilians.
So I support that. I would support that. I think just as we're starting to have negotiations in Oman to possibly scale down the Yemen war, this could put the Saudis at a disadvantage in those negotiations, but I think it's well past time in terms of the humanitarian situation, in terms of U.S. positioning in the Middle East. Getting all of our ducks in a row behind Saudi Arabia, I think it disadvantages the United States.
You know, the Crown Prince, he was just in Argentina and Buenos Aires at the G20 summit, and it didn't really seem to be completely isolated there. We saw a video of him speaking privately with French President Emmanuel Macron. Now, it's true that France and also Germany, they acted against Saudi Arabia. Germany halted arms sales to Saudi Arabia. But why is a different kind of response expected from President Trump? Why is the U.S. held to higher standards?
I think that the world and many Americans still see the United States as the global leader. But the fact is that President Macron was overheard to be telling the Crown Prince that he needs to do something about this. He needs to be more transparent, that he's been misleading him. I don't remember the exact words. So yes, he was engaging with the President of France, but he was being browbeaten by the President of France. And the only person he had an enthusiastic welcome from was the high five with President Putin. If your only friend there is President, if the two buddies are President Putin and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, then they are the ones who are isolated.
Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina, used to be Saudi Arabia's best friend in the U.S. Senate. He would constantly defend them on the Senate floor, and now there's Lindsey Graham saying it is time to stop doing business with Saudi Arabia, stop selling them weapons as long as the Crown Prince is still there. Is that a good idea?
He's a politician. He's a senator. The Senate, this Congress is going out of session in a few weeks. Since the passing of Senator McCain, I think Senator Graham has become a little more mercurial. Maybe he doesn't have his sea anchor to sort of hold him in place. I think he's reacting viscerally, and that's his prerogative.
Do you think there's a chance that even without further sanctions against Saudi Arabia or an action against the Saudi Crown Prince, the lesson for the kingdom, for the Saudi Crown Prince has been learned, and that from now on, if the Saudi kingdom want to play with the West, then they have to live up to certain Western standards?
I think that if there were going to be lessons learned by the Crown Prince, they would have been learned many months ago when they had to take the initial public offering off the table for Aramco.
Middle East analyst Shai Franklin, former executive of the World Jewish Congress. Shai, good to have you in studio. Thank you.
Thank you.